So how do you feel like when you're up on stage? Like, have you ever gotten like really nervous at some point, or like were you always just like ready, set, go, let's do this, or do you have any like
Um,
before you get out there? Like, do you have any rituals that you do?
I will say the nerves never go away, no matter
Okay.
how many performances you do, how many shows you do, even with like Dancing with the Pistons. We do all 42 home games in the season, and every game we do anywhere between 1 and 3 dances. The nerves never go away. It's always there, no matter what. It's something about, I don't know, you just set foot out there. You're confident, and the minute you get out there right before the music starts, it's like the nerves, but once the music goes on, you're fine. As far as rituals, I usually like to kind of be in my own headspace. I don't mind like talking and socializing. I know everyone's got a different like thing beforehand, like whether it's teammates or other dancers. I know some people can stand and socialize. Others are like, I need to put my headphones in and listen to music. I think I'm kind of in between. Like, I don't mind chatting, but then I kind of will slowly start to wind down. And once it gets down to those, like, okay, we're going on in like 2 minutes and then 1 minute, once the clock starts kind of counting down, then that's when I really get in my own headspace. I usually, this might be a little like silly, but I remember like pre-games in the back, like the locker room hallways, I would always do like, it'd be like 20 jumping jacks, 20 crunches, 20, like I always just had like a quick, like it was like 30 seconds, but I felt like I had to get my blood pumping and like I had to move.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then I would do that every time right before we went out. That way it was like I kind of started sweating a little bit and I'd be like, okay, now I can go out because now I'm not cold, I'm not as nervous, and so like everyone's got their little, like their personal rituals as to what you do every time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so where are you now in dance? I know it says that you coach at the Bloomfield Hills High School in Bloomfield, Michigan.
So I did up until last year, 22, so almost 2 years now. I coached 2 seasons there at Bloomfield Hills. And then also I did some choreography at Lawrence Tech, and I actually just did that again recently, a few weeks ago. I've been doing their competition choreography the last couple of years. So as far as like coaching and teaching, it's kind of where I've been at. I've taken a break from studio teaching. I had in 2018, I was like teaching at 3 different studios and teaching 4 or 5 days a week. And then once I started Dancing with Pistons, that kind of slowed up a little bit. I'm looking to get back into that in the near future because I miss teaching. I miss the kids for sure. Yeah. I think that's a different element of dance. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And then I'm also dancing with, there's a local artist that I've kind of been doing shows with over the years. And we're working on another upcoming show end of January that'll be in Minneapolis. So just kind of getting ready for that one as well.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so what would you say dancing does for you?
I think dancing is, honestly, it's like therapy. I think it's a form of like release and therapy. It's one of those things that it just makes you feel good afterwards, no matter what kind of mood you have going into dance, whether it's just taking a class or practice or teaching. You could go in, being sad or angry or upset or stressed. And it's like I always come out on the other side feeling like at ease, like everything is okay. And for some reason, I don't know, it's always done that for me. And I think that's what I love most about it, is it really is like a stress reliever. Because once you're in the studio or you're in the room and you start dancing, the music's on, I feel like your brain doesn't have time to think about real world stuff, everything else. It's because you have to focus on music, focus on these counts, focus on what I'm doing now. And I'm sure that's like any physical activity or anything where your brain has to focus on what you're doing in that moment. So I think it's just always been a nice stress reliever. That's what I say. It's like my version of therapy. Whenever I don't feel good, or even at home sometimes, I'm like, I just need to like put some music on and just like move in my kitchen. Even if it's not with a purpose, but just like move and just do something for like 30 minutes. Yeah. Because it does help. It really does.
Now, do you catch yourself like making up your own like choreograph like at home, like when you're dancing? Like, do you do that sometimes?
Oh, all the time. All the time. Sometimes it's planned, because sometimes I'll hear a song and I'll be like, oh, like you know what, I can make up a dance system like in the future if I go back to teaching or whatever on the team. And so sometimes I'll hear a song and get inspired and be like, you know what, actually I got some ideas. Let me start working on some stuff. And then other times it's totally random. You just be listening to music and like cleaning and a song will come on and then you hear the beats and I'm like, hold on, I start doing a little 8 count. And then I'll catch myself, I'll record it. That way for later I have it. Because then sometimes later I'll be like, now what was that I did? Because that was kind of sweet. Like, I'm like, shit, so what was that? So I'll try to record. I have so many little snippets in my phone of like little just 8 counts here and there for those random times where you're like, I wasn't planning on dancing, but just kind of happened. Right. I wanted to save that for later because it was good.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love it. What's like the most recent song that you've like created, like choreographed for? Do you remember?
Let me think. I feel like there was something recently.
Or is there like certain songs that like you like are more like prone to like come up with choreograph for, or like a certain genre?
Personally, I like my natural style, my go-to natural style, very jazzy, and that just come from growing up in the studio, like technical dancing. I love like a good, just like in the dance floor, we kind of just call it almost like a sassy jazz or like a jazz funk, where it's got the traditional technique, but then it adds just a little bit more like pizzazz to it, I guess. Nice. So I feel like any song that's like upbeat, I guess like an example of an artist would be like an Usher song or something, because all his are that like upbeat, like fast tempo. Right. It's almost like a club kind of song. I love like those, but then it'll have nice little like moments in the song where I'll be like, ooh, and pause, like and move, like. So I feel like I love that kind of genre. Yeah. I love hip hop. I love the real swaggy stuff too. I do also love like contemporary. I think it always just depends on my mood and how I want to move in that moment. But I think my go-to is always like a jazz, something upbeat, something I can move.